Be assured you're insured. We're speaking to buyers, sellers, landlords, tenants all day, and we've got something to tell you about insurance when we're speaking with them, what we talk about.
Hey, there he is. It's Hefe. Or should I say Mr. Miyagi of...
Who'd you call me Hefe? What's Hefe?
Hefe is chief in Spanish, man.
Wow.
I know.
Wow.
I'm going to teach you some Spanish one day at a time,
Yeah.
man. I
So
think it's
multicultural.
How are you this morning, Mark?
Good, buddy, you.
Melting, mate. Melting like a block of cheese out in the sun right now. Woo!
It's only 23 degrees, but it feels thick. It feels humid today.
It's very, very humid today. But on the topic of commercial, what we love to talk about on a Saturday, you and I, here's me again, being the student, you being the mastermind or the sensei to it all, me wanting to learn a bit more from you. And I've been, during the course of my interactions with people, the different deals that I go sealing here and there, building insurance is definitely something that pops up.
All the different types, and I guess it's not just commercial, but when it comes to property and people are talking to us real estate agents, they're sort of asking the common insurance questions. Now, we're not insurance consultants or brokers, but we can sort of point people in the right direction.
Absolutely.
And there's common questions out there that we want to talk about and expose today.
Definitely. And seeing as how it's obviously a non-negotiable factor, and again, as you would have said, it's similar to home insurance, we're going to break it down into almost like 6 things that you need to know about this insurance. Now, commercial property insurance covers you for what you can't control. Let's elaborate on that one.
Yeah, so why would you get insured? Like, you can be overinsured.
Yeah,
you can be underinsured, and you can be not insured.
Yeah. And it's definitely something that you don't want to be, especially when you're in control of an asset, especially if you've got, for instance, a tenant in place in your property. It's definitely like the crucial factor to explore into great detail, because you're running with factors here that, again, they're out of your control. It's like car insurance, for instance. The price of it is so high, and you question a lot of the time, but it's there for your security. It's there for the what ifs, the when ifs, and it's extremely crucial in a property that does get utilized a lot. Especially as well, it could even determine based on the type of property, the age of the property. So there's certain factors there. Do you care to elaborate on that one for me, Mark?
Yeah, and also I think what you brought up in car insurance is a car can be a $15,000 asset, or a car can be a $25,000 asset. A property is a $500,000 asset or $1 million asset. So if you consider the insurance for a property, it's a lot cheaper than a car, but everyone's happy to insure a car, or everyone's always, having whinge about the level of insurance you pay. But it's actually quite cheap when you look at insurance. But I think from the top, you've got your structure that you can insure. Next tier down, you've got your contents that you can insure. Next tier down, you've got your tenants you can insure. If the tenant goes bad, or if they go into arrears, and you can insure that as well. I also think having an agent is a form of assurance. Insurance assurance, where if you're paying an agent to manage your asset, I think that there's certain markers and certain things there that are going to increase your odds of it not going wrong. So I know there's certain insurance companies out there that actually will not insure you if you're not managed by a real estate agent, because they know that it's going to be run in a professional-like manner. But sorry, what was your question there?
Oh no, it was just a matter of diving a little bit deeper into that one of the first categories we're looking at. But I think now we're kind of weaseling over to number 2, and it's the fact that landlord and tenant insurance, there's differences there. There's key differences. that both parties have to explore, obviously. Let's look into that one, I think, a little bit more as well.
Yeah, so I think as a landlord, you want to make sure, I guess, that if the property's damaged, look, fire's a big one, floods a big one. Storms lately, with floods and that have been a massive one for the northern beaches. And I think you want to be insured there. I'm towards the end of the show. I do want to talk about being insured correctly, because I think there's people that make mistakes within that. Our landlords don't realise that they think they don't need contents insurance, because they think a plasma television of a tenant or jewellery and stuff is contents, but it's not. Landlords are going to be very, very sure that they're insuring the contents inside the property, which comes down to stuff like the kitchen cupboards, appliances. There's things there that are you want to be insured as well. So if there is a flood, or if there is roof damage and water comes through, or to recarpet, recurtain, put in kitchens and do stuff as well. So a big note out there from today is to just make sure you've got that insurance, that the contents and the building insurance that's going to do both, which then arches us over to tenants insurance.
Awesome. And with tenant insurance, and I think one of the minimum requirements for a tenant, obviously starting into a commercial property, is public liability insurance. That's just the bare bones minimum. And of course, I think a lot of the time as well, there are some tenants that don't actually explore as well contents insurance. For many different factors, and it's a situation that I dealt with at the end of last year, and not naming any names or anything like that. But a property of ours, great tenant, and it's one of these things where different parts of the building, not being tenanted, they're kept vacant. You've got a burst pipe, water leak. It starts streaming down between floors. It's something you don't expect. It's something that you don't want, but here it happens. It starts to obviously affect some of the contents that you've got down in the property that you're utilizing. And so therefore it's a bit of a scary notion. And you've got a tenant that's very nervous. It's very, what do I do? Who do I speak to? Help. And I think it's all about as well, if your property is being managed by an agent or an agency, it's knowing that there's that professional help that's going to jump straight to it and assist when need be.
Yeah, and look, it can add up to a lot. I know as a commercial tenant in our last premises, we used to consistently have a water leak, and it doesn't take much for stuff to add up. So we had an insurance policy which was a couple $100,000 for contents, and it actually winds up really, really quickly when you look at getting all this stuff fixed. One thing knocks onto the next thing, So I think definitely. The public liability is a big one. So that's if somebody slips on a banana skin. A landlord insists that in the commercial property, a landlord insists the tenant has public liability insurance in a commercial property, and that gets checked on an annual basis and submitted to the managing agent. In the event of something going wrong and there's a claim, like someone slips on a banana skin, breaks their neck, then there's insurance there for it. And also on what people don't realise on residential, particularly with strata, your strata takes out that insurance. But people are always whinging about strata insurance, but strata insurance does cover public liability as well. Most of the time, check on your own policy, but that softens that blow a little bit for strata schemes, because you do have your insurance policies built in there.
Alrighty. Now, the topics 3 and 4 that we're kind of basically going to tie in together, but I'm going to say them anyway. So commercial property insurance costs can vary widely, and I think we were touching on that a bit as well. And of course, brokers can offer essentially great advice, because as we mentioned, we're not brokers ourselves, but it's always good to seek the advice from a broker, and not more so now than obviously going to a bank. They can offer a wider variety of options, like different options to explore. So what do you think about that?
Yeah, it's a good point. I think a lot of people are aware of the mortgage industry. You can get a mortgage from a bank, or you can get a mortgage from a mortgage broker. Insurance is the same thing, where you can get insurance directly from an insurer, but you can also get a broker to hunt around for you. Now, I do have to say, if it's probably your bread and butter stuff, like Terry Shearer insurance, we use and we recommend for tenants insurance for landlords. So if a landlord wants to insure themselves up to 15 weeks in default in rent, if a landlord wants to insure themselves, I think it's about $35,000 in malicious damage to the property, they can use Terry Shearer. They're paying about $400 a year. It's a one-off payment per year. But when it gets a little bit more complex and you can't get that off-the-shelf product, generally a commercial property fits into that. I reckon a broker is a good idea. And then your tenant profile also changes as well, because with commercial, if you've got a tenant that's rated as risk, medium risk, high risk, and the insurance companies doesn't know about that because they're just running a standard insurance policy, you could not be insured. So tattoo parlors, for instance, you can think it's got a great rent by putting in a tattoo parlor, and that tattoo parlor as a tenant has fallen outside of policy with your insurance policy. There's a fire, you're not insured. If you're a paint shop, you've got chemicals on site, you can fall outside of an insurance policy. So a broker on an annual basis will often pokes around, asks the question, makes you fill out the form, and then gets the correct policy for you.
Fantastic. And that's a good one to know about tattoo parlors, because I mean, being somewhat of a junior in the industry, that's something that I definitely had to experience in one of the deals of last year, for instance, looking to put a private tattoo studio in a small space, and it's incredible at just how high the building insurance premium increased with just that alone. And it's sometimes a bit of a
it can go from $3,000 to $30,000 on the pro, depending on what your tenant does for business.
Yeah, absolutely.
Although cosmetic tattoos, no, but artist tattoos on the body, yes, it's weird. It's really
weird. A bit of a stigma there in the industry, but it's an interesting one.
Yeah.
Number 5. There are some things that your insurance won't cover. Is that right?
Of course.
And what are they? Let's look into that one.
Look, I think the loopholes or things you've got to watch out for are flood. I often hear. So if they're flood and storm is a bit of a funny one. For some reason I've been affected a lot in my life by water coming into the house or through the floor or whatever. And flood's an unusual one because it depends on the style of event you're insured for. So I think you want to be, when you take out your policy, you don't just want to be asking the questions about dollars. You want to be asking, you want to be thinking, what can possibly happen to me here, whether it's fire, flood, storm's a good one to ask. If it's a natural disaster or if it's a man-made event, from water, that can be two different determinations as well. So I think when you're getting insurance policy, just make sure that the things that are most likely to happen that you're going to be insured for, because sometimes when you fall outside of policy and they say, did you read the policy? No one reads the policy. So I think you just, got to really check and ask the questions. And look, if you can read the policy, it's a bloody good idea. I think you'd be surprised. But then again, a broker will often read between those lines for you. And you know what? When you add up all your insurance through a year, that's when you start thinking, Jesus, I actually didn't realise by the time I pay health insurance, property insurance, car insurance, that insurance, it's a fair chunk of your money gone. So you want to make sure you're insured correctly.
Absolutely. And that was there again, that was part number 6 of things to know. It's a matter of obviously doing your due diligence, and it's diving deeper and understanding what you're covered, what you're not covered by, and knowing the right insurance. And it's definitely the benefit of seeking advice from multiple parties, not just from the one, and not pretending to know it all. As agents, we try to do the best that we can to push people, I think, in the right direction, as opposed to trying to answer everything ourselves. And I think that's definitely what's to do here when it comes, especially when it comes to commercial property, because as the example at the start there, a car versus a $5 to $1 million asset is a big deal. So that's me trying to absorb from you, like usual on a Saturday, Mark. The good
That's it. And don't forget, guys, that these insurance brokers, they insure, often when it comes claim time, they insure a third party to minimise the loss, right? So this is what people have got to understand. They often insure a third party to minimise the loss. What does that mean? It means you'll get someone coming through your home or whatever's insured, and they are looking for reasons to pay less out. That's their job, and they'll get paid. Probably, in most circumstances, the more they chop off the original claim, the more they get paid. So you've got to be really, really careful that what you are saying is substantiated. And what I mean by that you don't, like for a car, for example, if you're saying it's garaged and it sits outside on the street and the car's stolen, and they get a witness that says the car's been sitting on the street for the last year, well, you weren't garaging the property, you could not be insured potentially. So I think, just bear in mind that when that claim is made, that someone will come out and try to chop down that claim to as small as possible. And you think to yourself that they are there with angel wings, and they are there to save your day, but often not. They're there to minimise loss. They're running a business as well. So it's actually, don't think a check's just going to be written out and all this hunky-dory. They will drag it out. They will chop it down. They will water it down, more often than not. So you've got to be, it's going to be a job for you to make a claim, and they make it, I think insurance companies make it a job a little bit. I think a lot of my clients, particularly the higher wealth clients, use Chubb insurance, and they've got for home insurance, and they've got a reputation for being good payers. I certainly remember when I was in a hotel room in a bad storm, and everyone in the hotel was storm damaged and storm affected people. We'd be sitting around the bar, and the people that were with Chubb were pretty happy, pretty chuffed, because it was a no questions asked. But you do pay the premium. They're all paying through the nose for the policy. So, I think cheap, tight ass policy. Careful that you're going to be inside policy and looked after when claim time comes on your property. Yeah,
that's bloody interesting. I think if I'm ever, hope to God I'm not, but if I'm ever in a situation like that, I'm definitely going to keep my eyes peeled, looking at everyone around me and seeing who's the calm one and who's not.
Yeah.
But look, Mark, it's great talking to you as always on a bloody Saturday and racking your brain and getting to know the deeper parts of things. Thank you so much, Sensei. Oh, sorry, this morning's word, jefe. So don't forget that one. I'll definitely be teaching you more. But yeah, look, thank you for everyone who joined in this morning. It's always good to see people actually jumping on, looking at what we've got to talk about, because at the end of the day, we dabble on these topics on a daily, and for us, it can, just be one of those just passing topics. But for some people, it's really crucial knowledge and they want to know.
661 topics. We're still not bored, and we still haven't run out of stuff to talk about.
We definitely won't be. We just got to start getting more and more creative. Look out.
See you, legend.
See you, Mark. Take care, mate. Bye.
Yeah, see you, everyone. Bye-bye.